Alrighty, y'all. Hey, as we do our daily Bible readings together, we're going to start today in the book of Job. Several of y'all suggested Job, I guess yesterday, the day before, I can't remember when. And it didn't matter to me. I got so many favorite books of the Bible that it's a whole lot easier if y'all make the decision instead of me. And since several of y'all recommended Job, here we are, y'all. And I looked in chapter 1 and chapter 2, both are fairly short, so I'm going to give you 2 chapters. And as I told you in a video earlier today, God gave me Job chapter 1 to read in my daily time with God back in 2014. And then a couple of months later, still in 2014, my morning time with God alone, which was usually before the sun came up outside, he and I were close. He gave me Job chapter 1 again. And I kind of chuckled and just jokingly said, "Father, are you getting dementia? You already gave me Job chapter 1. He didn't say anything. He didn't respond. So I read Job chapter 1 again. And 4 or 5 hours later, I got word that my daughter had died. 2 months before her death, he started preparing me. The morning of her death, he gave me Job chapter 1 again. So y'all, just about every time I read Job chapter 1, I cry. Now, I'm going to read it. And chapter 2. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. Job was extremely wealthy. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus did Job continually. That was in the days of the law. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, "Whence comest thou?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it." And the Lord said unto Satan, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. I'm going to stop right there for a second, y'all, or for a few seconds. I know nobody in the world, especially not God, can ever say that about me. But wouldn't it be awesome to be like Job, where God himself could say that he was perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? That's the man I want to be. I fear God. I have a very healthy fear of God. I know what he can do. And I do eschew evil. I run from it. I don't want it anywhere near me. Continuing, then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? Hast thou not made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Let's back up a little bit. All that he hath that was listed in God's holy word was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. Now let's go back over here. Now the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. All. Only upon himself, upon Job himself, put not forth thy hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And I'm going to stop again, y'all. If we, you and me, ever go away from the presence of the Lord like Satan just did, there's probably going to be trouble. We need to stay. We need to live in the presence of the Lord. We're not Satan. We need to stay in the presence of the Lord, right at his side. All right. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when Job's sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elder brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing, the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them all away. Yea, They have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to come tell thee. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they died. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped. Friends, if everything you owned had just been lost, including your precious daughter, would you fall down on the ground and worship? Job said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. I had finished spending my morning time with God the day my daughter died. Had gone back in the house when I got the word that she was gone. Because he had given me this chapter 2 months before, and that same morning, I remembered what he commanded Job to do and what Job did, and that is to worship. I went back outside to the spot where I always worship God every morning, and I worshiped, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And I from memory quoted to God and said, "Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And y'all, I was crying so hard he probably had to read my mind, because I doubt if he could understand my voice. Chapter 2. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, "From whence comest thou?" And Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down on it." And the Lord said unto Satan, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause." And Satan answered the Lord and said, "Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face." And the Lord said unto Satan, "Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life." Are y'all getting what's going on here? Satan is powerful, but he cannot do anything unless God grants him to do it. For years, Satan was not allowed by God to touch Job or any of Job's belongings or any of Job's family. I just read to you where God gave him permission. And now God has given him permission to touch Job's body, to afflict Job's body, only don't take his life. Satan has no power without God granting it to him. Same thing in the end times. The power that Satan has in these days right now is granted to him by God. And he's given him more and more and more control over planet Earth, leading up to the tribulation period in which Satan will be in control. God will still be ultimately in control, but he's letting Satan do anything he wants to do. Just look at where the world has gone, especially America, in the last 20, 30, 40 years. And especially in the last 7, 8, 9 years. Goodness gracious, y'all. And very shortly, during the tribulation period, it's going to be like hell on earth. We don't want to be here. You need Jesus right now, y'all, because we don't know exactly when that's going to begin. But from all the signs, from all the prophecy fulfilled recently and in the process of being fulfilled, it could begin at any day. Look at what happened October 7th and has been going on ever since. That, I feel, is part of prophecy too. It's setting more prophecy up in order. Ultimately, God is in control, but he is giving more and more power over to Satan. But anyway, let's get back here to Job. Okay, the last verse, I think I just read part of it. Verse 3 of chapter 2, And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? For there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. But Job said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? In all of this, Job did not sin with his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came, every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And let me just tell y'all right now before we read any further, if God allows something to happen to me, and any of you are friends like these 3, don't come see me. Just stay away. And if you don't know the book of Job, in the next few days, you're going to find out why I said that. Goodness gracious, oh. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. It was all a show. They weren't sincere. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spoke a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. All right, y'all, that's the first 2 chapters of the book of Job, and if we don't get raptured out of here tonight or tomorrow, I'll be back with some more. Job's a good book. We learn a lot from it. We learn a lot from Job and how he handled adversity. That's exactly how we need to be. I love you, friends. I appreciate y'all. God bless each and every one of you.